And we are live. What's happening, everybody? Let me get a couple things figured out real quick, and then we will go ahead and get started. Hold on just a moment as you guys are coming in. Casper, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in from YouTube. Let's see here. And I think I need one more of those open. All right, give me just a quick second and we will go ahead and get started. Let me mute this because I hear myself echoing. There we go. And first thing while I'm doing this, the group, there are more and more people complaining about, in the Giant XL American Bully Breed group, there's more and more people complaining about their posts not getting posted. You guys got to understand. That group and all Facebook groups, there's not to be any selling of dogs. So if you're wording things in a manner that makes it obvious you are trying to sell dogs, then we can't allow that post to get posted. Same thing when it comes to studs. If you just post your mail and people are interested, they'll hit you up. Don't say PM me. Don't say, what are all the little phrases? Open for stud, he's open. Leave all that out. People who are interested will definitely hit you up. So, again, it all comes down to the wording that, you're choosing to use. Let me get this set up real quick. So, again, read the rules. And then, like I said, it is heavily about the wording that you're choosing to use. Most breeders aren't having an issue with it. The issue are the same people over and over again. Also, each of the lives should have a link at the top. I'm working on that right now. Give me just a second. Let me see. Hold on. Nope, that one doesn't. So let me add that to it. Anyway, they should have a link, and I'm about to do it now. To if you're in the live from the group, I'm about to do it right now. Give me just a second. But there should be a link that allows you to click on it, and then what is this? Your post has been formatted as a. Oh, okay. There should be a link, streamyard.com/Facebook, and when you click on that, it allows me to see who is in the live from Facebook. So, because otherwise it won't let me see who you are. I'm gonna try to keep up with comments and all that stuff anyway, but give me a second as you guys jump in. BMG Gray, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. He said, what's the weight and height for XLs? There is no weight for XLs. It's strictly breed type and height. So each of the classes is divided by height. The pocket is 17 to 20. 14 to 17 inches. The standard and classic is 17 to 20 inches. And then the XL is 20 to 23 inches, preferably. But so XL starts at 20 inches. And it goes up from there, but they prefer it to be under 23 inches. But to be an XL, it has to be at least above 20 inches. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Taurine Garrett, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. He's somebody to check out. Brother knows a lot about dogs, a lot about this bully breed. Betsy, Spirit Rider, thanks for joining in. But yeah, so BMG, that's how it breaks down. So when you're looking at the XL, it's not about weight. I know everybody pushes weight. It is not about weight. It is about height, 20 to 23 inches, which is going to get us into our topic of do double XLs exist? So we'll get there in just a second. Let me make sure I got everything. And yes, I do. WKRK9, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. He's coming in from Waldorf, Maryland. Maryland, stand up, DMV. I used to have a big, how should I say this without getting myself in trouble? But I used to, myself and group of friends had a large presence in the DMV area, especially Maryland and DC. during the 90s. So a lot of love out there. A lot of love out there. Let's see here. Somebody said, okay, so that was that. Chris said loud and clear. Cool. Then who else? What did we have? So that was that. So as far as the XL, strictly height when it comes to the classes, and that's not just with bullies, it's all breeds. Breeds are when they have different classes within a breed, like the giant schnauzer, the miniature schnauzer, the standard bull terrier, the miniature bull terrier. It's all by height. It's never by weight. Weight is kind of a people thing. Let's see here. So, okay, I want one of those King of Diamonds pups for sure. We actually have a breeding coming up, waiting on Cardi Bull. So we have a breeding coming up in the next couple weeks. Then we will also be breeding him to Lady Justice in about a month and a half. She is a Kobe from DDK9 daughter, a Holt granddaughter. So we got that. So we got 2 breedings all coming up within the next few weeks to 2 months coming up. So definitely stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and get into the top. All right, actually, first, okay, so we talked about the breeders. If you're in the group, it is all about wording. When you post pictures of pups, the rule is you're not supposed to be able to post pictures of pups unless you're posting both parents also with the pictures. We've been letting that slide. But when you start breaking it up, 1 male, 2 male, 3 male, 1 female, 2 female, you start making it obvious that you're breeding and you're selling pups and using the group to do that. And we can't allow that. Can't allow you to say any type of references to studs, females that are in heat and you're looking for a stud. If you just say, show me the studs out there, that's cool. But if you say, I got a female and I'm looking to breed her, let me see some studs, or who's got a stud, that we can't allow it. So it's all in the wording. Same thing if you got pups on the ground, show your litter. People who are interested will hit you up. But don't tell them PM you. Don't do the little, what's that, the little message letter emojis. All that stuff, any type of references to you selling dogs is not going to get approved in the group. Any comments that are caught will not get approved, and the reason is because Facebook will shut the group down. And if you pay attention to the group, it is more focused on education. We're about to refocus it that way shortly, just to fine tune that. But in the when we first got the group going, and we were around 10, 15,000, even Facebook looked at the group as educational. Now there's more and more breeders in there. There's more and more people posting pictures. So I'm assuming we're still looked at the same, but we have to keep it that way. You cannot sell dogs on Facebook. You cannot try to hook up with people regarding stud fees. You can't look for females to breed to. Get rid of the word looking for and just put show me. Show me females that are going into heat in the next two weeks. And bam, you're good. Or that will be ready to breed soon. I wouldn't even say that, but it's all in the wording. The closer your wording is to letting Facebook, people who are, and the way I say it is, I look at it for you got to word things for dummies. So if I look at it and I notice that anybody outside of the breeding world or any of the mods or admins look at it and they can tell, obviously you're trying to breed, obviously you're looking to sell puppies, then it won't be approved in the group. So just think about the wording. If you look at the rules of the group, we pretty much help you out with how to word things. And if you look at the posts that do make it, that's another help and clue. But let's get going. So follow us on Thrower Bullies Facebook when you can see our breedings and everything we're doing with our yard. You can also follow us on IG at Thrower Bullies and also YouTube at Thrower Bullies. Make sure you subscribe. All the lives that are done are posted on there. Also, for those who are getting into the bully game, we just completed a marketing series done with Robert McCormick of KTK Bullies and also Andre Smith of BGK, Big Gemini Kennels. Who's an XL breeder. We did a marketing series, and basically we broke it down. The first part of the series was photos and videos, what type of equipment you should use. The second part of it was Facebook, how to maneuver. running ads. The third part was same thing, but with IG. The fourth part was the same thing, but with YouTube. And then the fifth part, which we completed last Friday, was basically on websites, what to be thinking of when you're having your website built, and then how to kind of get your website out there. And then we kind of summarize the whole series. So it's a 5-part series. You can go to Thrower Bullies on YouTube, and it's all there, each part of the series. And it's basically about an hour long. Each series is about an hour long. And those brothers, again, salute to them. They gave up a lot of good information when it comes to marketing and then just growing your brand and getting it out there. But so let's get to the nitty gritty. The topics of today. First, hold on. Let me see. Make sure I didn't miss nobody. Bully Bread Kennels, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Jasmine Duncan, thanks for joining in. And I said, I can't wait for those breedings. Yes, they will be happening soon. We also got a black male that we're waiting to show out. He's only 11 weeks old, so we're waiting. We being patient. We have him. We also have a Merle off of Woodland from Scorpion Kennels with Oscar Tamayo. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But she's off of Woodland. And Tootsie. Tootsie is from Jason McGee. He helps us run the group. She's a bad female. And he runs Bay Boy Bully. So we got a Merle that came off of that breeding. So we're definitely looking forward into doing some things when it comes to the, contributing dogs to the bully community. Right now, a lot of our dogs have been gone to people who wanted dogs from us before we even got into bullies, which is why we had to be so hard up on temperament that we were getting from these dogs. So even like Jasmine said, she helps us run the group. She said, if you say breed, it flags it. That it does. And that's how Facebook stays in tune. There's just keywords that they use. If you avoid using those keywords like most bully breeders do, then you won't have any issues. If there is an issue, if your post doesn't get approved, I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10, but I will say 6 times out of 10, we send you a message along with the leading the post. You also will get a message that lets you know exactly why it got deleted, what rule was broken. If for some reason we're rushing and we don't get the opportunity to send that to you, read the rules, or you can always message one of us. Message me. A lot of everybody don't like being bothered. Try to message me, and I will try to let you know exactly what needs to be done. But most times, if you take your post and it doesn't get approved, and you read the rules, you will be able to figure it out for yourself why the post didn't get approved. Let's see. Bully Bread Kennel said, "Are you still buying pups from other kennels, or you feel you have what you need?" We have one pup that I just kind of finalized the discussion today that we're looking to purchase from a kennel, and then from there we will have everything that we need. So we do have one dog that we're looking to get. I'm excited to get it. Talk to the person doing, I've got to say person, I don't want to give up any clues, but I talked to the person that is doing the breeding, and I'm excited about getting this, and they're excited for us to get it from them. So I can't wait. Hopefully that breeding takes place in the next few months. We'll be getting that pup, and shortly after that. And so we are looking to get one pup to bring into the kennel that is totally unrelated from our dogs that we have. And and then I think we'll be done as far as purchasing dogs from anyone. And that should be the goal of everybody. When you decide getting into breeding, you want to figure out how you can be self-sufficient off just your own yard. A lot of, especially in the bully community, in the working dog community, you don't see it too much, but in the bully community, you got people who have been breeding dogs for 15 years and they're still buying dogs. That's an issue in my opinion. Of course you're gonna be doing some, maybe taking your stud to a female, getting a pup back, things like that. But you should be getting to the point where you're no longer needing to step outside of your yard. Castro said, have you ever thought of creating another dog like Floyd, part boxer and pit bull? No, I kind of got lucky when I got Floyd. He was everything I needed at the time because I had a bull lurcher. And so I needed a dog that had way more grit, could definitely hit harder. but at the same time could keep up with her. There was no keeping up with her, but at least be shortly behind her. So if she got in contact with something, I needed a male that could come in right behind her. And the boxer gave him that ability. With him only being 1/4 boxer, we were kind of lucky that he did get a little more leg than some of the other pups in that litter. My only thing with Floyd is at this phase of my life, I don't need another dog. And he's still in here staring at me right now. But I don't need another dog that, like, Cardi's great for, protection and guarding the house. I don't need another dog with that level of drive that he had, nor do I need another dog with that level of animal aggression. Floyd doesn't bark and growl at dogs. He just goes. You know what I mean? And I don't need a dog with that level of aggression any longer. If at some point we do decide that we're going to start using dogs again, we don't use. See, we go hunting in Arkansas, so I've got family out there that's got dogs for whatever we need. If we at some point decide here in California we're going to start doing more hunting and involving our dogs into it, then I will probably regret not breeding Floyd. But Floyd has offspring out there that I can turn to. So I don't need another Floyd in my yard because he's somebody that you kind of have to be paranoid with because he's just an extremely driven dog, and there's no when they say 0 to 100, that's him. And so right now at this stage of my life, I don't really need that. So I don't really have the aspirations of doing that again. But it was everything, Casper, that I needed at that point. And with him being 3/4 old family red nose, 1/4 boxer, plus he was came from an inbreeding. He was a phenomenal dog. He's my old man grumpy right now, and passes gas, farts a lot for some reason, which I don't remember him doing before. What is it about that dog that made you want to bring that dog to your kennel? When it comes to Floyd, I'm assuming Floyd I wasn't into bullies. Floyd was everything I needed as far as working hogs. I was doing a lot of coyote hunting, coyote, bobcat, and hogs. And then I started phasing away from the hogs when I got Floyd because he tries to turn it into a fight rather than just catching on and holding. And we started focusing more on bobcat and coyote hunting. And then at the same time, for whatever reasons, I got into this thing where I was building a pack and wanted to be able to hunt coyotes and bobcat without guns. So I got coyote collars and all electric, plus the one you use with your mouth. I even got pretty good without using the collar. And I got this one thing, you put it out about 20 yards and it flops around like a wounded animal, and then you do the call. So I got real heavy into hunting without guns. Without needing to use a gun and just using the pack. My wife didn't like it because I would leave the house at 10 o'clock at night and hit the field around midnight. I'd just be me, my dogs, and a spotlight, and I'm just shining the spotlight at whatever they need to go get. Loved it. I don't even know if I have the courage to go do that now by myself, but for some reason, 10 years ago, I would head out by myself late at night and do nighttime hunting with just my dogs. Have a pistol on me just in case something went wrong, but never had to use it. The dogs handled everything. Cruz said, how do I keep the height when inbreeding or line breeding? You can maintain height with line breeding, somewhat. When you start inbreeding, you are going to get a thicker dog. Some of you have seen Floyd doesn't show the results of inbreeding like some of his litter mates did. Some of you have seen my Jack Russell before I had to put her down. She was very stocky. She was also a heavily line bred, inbred dog, very stocky. And she was right at that border of where you can start to see if she were to go back into her blood, she definitely would have produced, bold legs, things like that, because she was right there at that border. But she was more bully as a Jack Russell than a lot of bullies that are out there. As far as maintaining the height, one of the reasons we wanted King was because King was extremely tall and wide, was coming from a line of dogs that way. And he turned out to be even larger. Well, he's the largest pup his dad has ever has ever had. But King, at being that 26 to 27 inches, we have a lot of playroom to go for width that he allows, and luckily he brings bone, he brings width, but he also brings height, so we can go to smaller dogs. We just did a breeding King to a pocket. That pup is 11 weeks old. All black. I can't wait to see him. So far, everything seems to be looking good. We were nervous about high rears because people say the dogs aren't comparable to each other in height, then you can cause high rears. I have a slight argument with that, especially in my opinion. Um, High rears has nothing to do with the size of the dogs and the difference between the size of the male and the female. It has more to do with the genetics to throw high rears. And the reason I say that is when we were breeding bull lurchers, we were taking 24 to 27-inch tall greyhounds and then breeding them to pits that were no taller than 18 to 20 inches. And never did I have a high rear. The guys I was working with in the bull lurcher program from Cali to Texas, there were no high rears in any of those litters. And when I say any, I mean none. There were zero high rears. So there's a part of me, because of that experience, that thinks that high rear is more of a genetics that causes high rears. Now, whether it's in the stifles, whether it's in the back, that I don't know. I think they both play a part of it, but I think it's a separate genetic. So as far as how to keep the height when you're line breeding, inbreeding, it's going to depend. The closer you get in your inbreeding, the shorter the dog is going to become. It tends to go shorter and wider with your inbreedings. Line breeding, you should be able to do it. Just be selective at who you go to. But inbreeding, you could be selective at who you go to, and it's still going to cause a thicker, shorter dog. So if you're worried about that height limit when it comes to the classes of the American Bully, I would say you want a dog that is already taller than that height limit. So with us, we know XL starts at 20 inches. With King being 26 to 27 inches, we got a lot of playroom to do line breeding and inbreeding off of his blood. So just be aware of that. Be aware of the dog you start with. WKRK9 said, I come from game bred dogs. Are these bullies good for hog hunting, catching? Some are good, some are not. I think the bully, if you get a driven bully that has the temperament for the prey drive for hunting hogs, you can get a good dog. The problem is, as bullies push, and we're going to get into that when it gets to the athletic topic, but as the bully community pushes for a thicker bone, a thicker dog, you can run into problems because even if they have the drive, they're not going to have that stamina. When you're doing hog hunting, your dog can be running a couple miles before it hits that hog, or walking with you for a couple miles before it hits that hog. Then it hits the hog. Running full speed, full sprint, it hits the hog. Now it's in a battle. So the dog's got to be built to have the stamina and the lung capacity and the wind for it, along with the drive to get the job done. So are there bullies? Yes. Erica Ross has some phenomenal bullies that do catch work on a regular basis. She's got, I forget their names. I got to see one of them I know at the last Cinco de Mayo show, but she does hog hunting all the time. So if you're actually looking for that within the bully breed, definitely check out Erica Ross. I don't remember the name of her kennel, but she has all athletic dogs, which is the topic we're going to get into tonight. Casper said, what are the benefits of creating a large gene pool for your own bloodline, and what are some negatives? I'll start with the negatives. The negatives is if you want to take them all and bring them all into your blood, then the negatives mean you're dealing with more traits and inconsistencies, and it's going to take you longer. You figure to create your bloodline takes 5 to 7 generations to create it and to lock it in so that it is distinct in temperament and look from other dogs of the same breed. The other purpose in a bloodline is that you can breed a bloodline to a scatterbred dog and reproduce the bloodline through that scatterbred dog. And so what you're hoping is that scatterbred dog has all the traits that you have in your bloodline. You breed to that scatterbred dog, and then you get what, hopefully, cross your fingers, what they call hybrid vigor. which is something that's more impressive than your bloodline and more impressive than that scatterbred dog. You almost get something new. But as far as the negatives, if you've got a large gene pool, it may take you longer to reach a point at which you now have that consistent look that you're saying, okay, now I need to do this inbreeding to lock it in. The benefits of a large gene pool is you get to take your time. You don't have as much to worry about when you're doing your line breedings and your inbreedings. I think we did a live a few weeks ago. We were talking about inbreedings, and inbreeding is usually cool if the grandparents are totally unrelated from each other. Well, when you have a large gene pool, that's what you're kind of getting from that. So that's why you want a large gene pool. You always want your gene pool to be as big as it can be so that you have time to perfect every little nook and cranny of the dogs before you do that inbreeding. And then when you do that inbreeding, because it came from a large gene pool, those genes hit at random, and hopefully you get what you're looking for in appearance and in temperament by using different genetics from everything that it's pulling from, if that makes sense. But again, a large gene pool does take it longer for you to achieve a bloodline. A bloodline can take you 5 to 7 generations if you're doing it perfect. It can take you up to 10 generations if you have some errors or mistakes within there. Any info on fixing east-west? Yes. As far as fixing easty-westy, you need to catch it early while the pup is still in its development stage. You want to probably cut back on a lot of the protein. You definitely want to start getting it more sunlight, more vitamin D, vitamin C. You also want to start getting in things that help it digest its food more sufficiently. Sauerkraut, yogurt, plain yogurt also help. Sure Grow is a good tablet to use to kind of help things when the pups are in developmental stage. And then you also want to put the pup, you can get yourself a trough or a kiddie pool, get the biggest one possible, fill it up with pea gravel. If you can't get a hold of pea gravel, make mud in your yard. Sand helps, and then start getting that pup used to running on that, and you'll see those feet start to slowly turn in. One thing I will say, keep the dogs off of hardwood surfaces. Also, dogs are a pain in the ass to clip their nails, so a lot of times we start clipping them early so they can get used to it. Do not clip your dog's nails until it's about 4 weeks old. It needs those nails to help with traction. So make sure that the surface your puppies are growing up on is not only soft, but kind of absorbs. I know there's a lot of things out there. I just like a bunch of towels and blankets so that those pups are constantly moving. That will also help if you have stiff rears in the back because you want them using those muscles. Chris said, share this to my page. Thanks, beneficial to my people. For sure. Thanks a lot, Chris. Who else we got? Northern said, I'm late, but I'm here. What's up, Northern? Thanks for joining in, man. We haven't even gotten started yet. Okay, she said, question, would a scatter breeding be considered line breeding if the main, hold on, let me start this over. You're trying to confuse me. Would a scatter breeding be considered line breeding if the main dog is on both sides of the dogs? Yes, then that is considered line breeding. It's a distant line breeding, but it is still considered line breeding. And that's another thing to think about. When we got into the bully game, I did not like the community itself. And this was before I got to, know who was cool, who wasn't, things like that. But what I saw in the community, I didn't like. So we knew we didn't want a bloodline from anyone. And we knew that we wanted scatterbred dogs that still met the criteria of what we were looking for. We didn't want a whole bunch of line breeding and inbreeding because we didn't want anybody to be able to lay claim to the breedings that we were about to be doing and I didn't want that because like I said, I just didn't like what I saw in the community, the people in the community. So my thing with it is there's nothing wrong with breeding scatterbred dogs because it still comes down. Dogs are based off of traits and they're based off of blood. Blood is going to give you certain traits. Well, certain traits are going to give you certain traits. So the thing that you want to see, even if they're scatterbred dogs, what you want to look for is that they have similar traits passing from generation to generation to generation, all the way up into the dog that you're looking for. Because these people were paper hanging and all these other things, when you get your dog, you want to look at his pedigree and you want to be able to see traits. Call out one trait at a time. Head, big head. My dog has a big head. Well, you want to go through your pedigree and you want to see big heads. And the minute you find a dog that doesn't have a large head, you want to start asking yourself questions. Is this where the scatter breeding was done? Or is this where the paper was hung? Blah, blah, blah. Especially if you see a big head come out of nowhere, then you know some paper hanging was done. But that was our thing, you know, and going through our dogs, we could go all the way back to where you could tell not only was there paper hanging in certain breedings that were done, we were able to tell who did it. And we were also able to tell what's in some of them, what type of or what style of breed was used. Now, whether it was a Presso or a Cane Corso, that would make it harder to tell. Whether it was an American Bulldog or an Oldie Bulldog, that makes it a little difficult. Some I was able to say, okay, they definitely used a Cane Corso here. They definitely used the American Bulldog here. But you want to start looking at, go trait by trait. And to make it simpler, just start off with the traits that you see are issues in the community, and then go back and see where they come or disappear in your dog. But yeah, so scatter breeding is fine as long as the traits are similar. As long as you're breeding similar traits, there's nothing wrong with scatter breeding. And that would be considered what they would call a distant line breeding. Let me see if I got any more questions. Let me check Facebook. It looks like it's showing up. Some of the, I could reset that to make sure those are popping up. Let me go ahead and do that. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the topic. Topics for the night. The new push against athletic dogs. Why? Is it valid or just lazy breeders wanting lazy dogs? Second topic, do double XLs exist or is it just a marketing pitch? Third topic, can you breed a classic female with great structure to an XL? Fourth topic, best meat grinder for raw diet or raw recipes. And the fifth topic was seeing a lot of posts about exotics and pockets dying to the heat. What needs to be done short and long term for all dogs? All right, so let's work from the bottom up. Overheating in dogs. There's no reason for your dogs to be dying due to heat. And that's two faults. One, you as the owner, and two, the breeder for breeding dogs that have the ability to overheat. Floyd came up earlier. Floyd used to hunt in like 100-degree weather. 104, I think, was one of the hottest. We didn't push them that hard, but they still did their job. Now, those of course, those are totally different breeds. But overheating is due to two things. One, the heat, and then two, the dog panicking. Most of these dogs that are overheating have never been through a recovery phase of conditioning. And what I mean by that is you take your dog for a walk, it starts, and we've discussed it before. Panting is exercise. Drooling is conditioning. When the drool starts to turn to foam, that's when the dog is starting to dehydrate, starting to overheat. That's when it's time to stop and let the dog recover. So, for instance, when the dog is panting, it's panting to cool itself off, bringing cooler air, hopefully, into the body. A lot of times the dog's overheating the heat because it's inhaling cooler air, but the air, what should be cooler air, but the air is not cooler. And dogs, that's how they cool off, through their pads and through their panting. They don't sweat like we do, but they do drool to help themselves cool off. That drool should be clear. When you start noticing that drool turning to foam, it's time to stop what you're doing and it's time to let your dog recover. Most of these dogs, for instance, when I'm conditioning my dog, if I know we're going to do what I'll call 3 sets of whatever we're doing, then I pour their water out. That way, when I'm letting the dog recover, it can't walk and go drink. I want it to cool off. I want it to recover without water. My dogs, when I condition them, do not get water until we are done with the whole process. So whether you're doing the flirt, pull, a run, whatever it may be, the average dog has never been pushed to the point that it starts to drool, let alone to the point that drool starts to turn, instead of clear, to a foam. So they don't know what it feels like to recover. So they start panicking. Between the panic and the heat, that's what causes overheating. So what do you do if your dog is starting to overheat? One thing is, the minute your dog is panting and you know you haven't been running or doing anything, start keeping an eye on it. When you see drool, definitely start watching your dog. Now, for me, drool means keep going. If you see drool and that drool starts to turn to foam, it is time for everybody to stop. I don't care what breed you have, how much you're working it out. And this is how it works. You start doing something with your dog, it starts to panic. As the dog gets in, it starts to pant, I mean. Then it starts to drool, clear drool, and then it starts to drool, foamy drool. The more in shape your dog is, the further it goes without panting, the further it goes without drooling, the further it goes without the drool turning to a foam. So as your dog gets in shape, these things take longer and longer. That cycle of panting to drool to foamy drool takes longer because the dog's in better conditioning and in better condition. So the first thing that we want to remember is that these dogs are panicking, and that's what's causing the overheating. And the dog doesn't look, humans, we get to scream and shake and do all these things. Dogs don't do that. They may tremble, but a lot of people don't notice that they're panicking because the dog's just sitting there. But the dog does not understand why its body is getting hotter and hotter, and he's feeling less and less comfortable. And therefore, he starts to panic. That panic brings on more heat, and then you get the two together. You cause a dog that overheats and dies. So first off, start exercising your dogs when it's cool. Start letting them recover from that exercise without drinking water. And recovery takes anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes based off of how in shape your dog is. You'll know that the dog has recovered because it's ready and it's still giving it its all when you're doing your flirt pole, your spring pole, your run, whatever it is you may be doing, the dog is giving it its all. It's not going to be able to give it its all for as long as it did the first time, but it's still able to maintain that intensity for a shorter period of time. When the dog starts falling off, that's when you know its drive is kicking in, but the body is starting to fail. So during recovery period, most dogs have not been through a recovery period, so they panic, especially in this bully community because so many people don't do anything with their dogs. But so to prevent overheating and prevent the panic part, which makes overheating worse, start exercising your dog strictly for the sake of exercising, and exercise them at least to the point that they begin to drool. Drool. If you, and then go ahead and recover from there. You don't want to push it past that, then cool. Never push past foamy drool. But if you don't want to push past clear drool, that there's nothing wrong with that. You can still get a good workout with that. Allow your dog to recover before it drinks its water. So if it's drooling clear drool, dump the water out before you get started. Get it to the point where it's drooling clear drool. Give it 5 to 10 minutes. If it's not in shape, it can take, in shape dog can take 3 to 5 minutes. An out of shape dog can take anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. So give that dog that 8 to 10 minutes to recover before you allow it to get water. Pay attention to it though. Pay attention to, it's shaking. Pay attention to the drool, and then go ahead. So give it about 5 minutes, then go ahead, let it drink water. Next time you do, wait a couple days. Next time you do a conditioning regimen with your dog, give it about 8 minutes, then let it have water. But let your dog get used to what it feels like to recover. Let it dog know that this gets a little worse before it gets better. And then the dog won't panic, and that will help it not overheat. But let's say you're there, bam, the dog's overheating, you see it, it's having a hard time breathing. One of the things that make it have a hard time breathing is not only is it using those organs more, so they may start to swell, but the main thing is the phlegm, the foam, like we talked about, the foamy drool. It starts to clog up back in the throat and the mouth of the dog. Use lemon juice to squirt that in like you get with the little bottle. Squirt that in the dog's mouth. I keep it on hand because I still condition my dogs. Squirt that in the dog's mouth real good. The dog may not like it, but it's cool. 2 things that the lemon juice does. 1, it helps break up the foam so that the dog can breathe. 2, is sour. So the dog gets a different discomfort than the overheating discomfort, and it's kind of a distraction. So that will give your dog a little more oomph, like, okay, I'm about to die, but what the hell did you just squirt in my mouth? You get what I'm saying? That gives him a little more energy, a little more oomph to get through what he's going through. So squirt the lemon juice in the dog's mouth. Once you have squirted the lemon juice in the dog's mouth, start giving the dog Pedialyte. Pedialyte helps to get everything in the dog's system that it has lost from all the drooling and panting that is done. The panting at a certain stage causes the tongue and everything to dry out. So the Pedialyte helps with that, gets fluids back in the dog, and it's fluids that are easy for the dog to absorb, easier for the dog to absorb than actual water is. So Pedialyte is perfect. That's why we use it for our babies. Then from there, the best thing, do not pour cold water on your dog. You can send the dog into shock. I've seen people do it and the dogs didn't go into shock, but from what I've heard, it can send the dog into shock. You can rub ice cubes. If you do have nothing but cold water, let's say you happen to have an ice chest, take a towel, dump it in there, or just put your hands in the water and then start rubbing it through the dog. Start with the body, then make your way to the head. If the water's not extremely cold, then you can start from the head and work your way back to the body. You want to get that cold water on the dog's butthole, private regions, pads, toes, in between the toes, the pads, and you want to get that cooler water also in the armpits of the dog. But before you even get to that, you want to get your lemon juice in there, your Pedialyte. You want to use your rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol helps evaporate. So before you get to any water, just stick with the lemon juice, stick with the rubbing alcohol, stick with the Pedialyte. Rub the alcohol on the dog's ears, a little bit on the inside of the dog's ears. Don't let it pour into the dog's ears. Rub the rubbing alcohol around in the armpits of the dog and pour it on the pads of the dogs. The alcohol helps evaporate from the dog. Get it on the top of the dog's skull. Give them a little bit more comfort. Just don't let it run into the eyes or anything like that. Just on the skin, into the skin, and then it evaporates, helping pull all the heat from the dog a lot faster. Get it onto the body of the dog also to help it evaporate a lot faster. And that should pretty much help your dog. Coming home from Cinco de Mayo, there was a guy on the road. His dog was overheating, and we pulled over to help him. And we luckily had those things with us, the rubbing alcohol, Pedialyte, and we had the lemon juice. His dog, guys, it would say he actually started giving the dog water when I wasn't paying attention. But his dog was actually fine just off the rubbing alcohol and the lemon juice. So he wasn't that bad. Actually, I'm sorry, I take that back. Off the Pedialyte and the lemon juice. I don't even think we got to the point where he was still standing, so it wasn't that bad. But be prepared for that. So again, exercise your dogs. It's hot now. Exercise them at night when it's cooled off. Push them a little bit. Let them recover on their own rather than just going straight to the water. Let them recover for about 5 minutes, then let them have water. Next time, take it 8 minutes, then have them water. That way they don't panic. But these are the best ways to prevent overheating, and it's also the best ways to, once overheating starts, to not allow your dog to die. Next topic was best. Hold on, let me see if I see any comments. Give me just a second, y'all. Let's see. LOE bullies. LOE, is that you, Ron? What's up, bruh? Let's see here. Daryl, you seem like a man who may know this. You ever heard of Epinet's Bulldog Supply or know anything about their products? I know nothing about their products. I've never heard of it. And I don't know why we have Bulldog and Bully products. Dogs are dogs, and their genetics do to them what their breed needs from there. So just definitely look into it before you jump in and start giving it to your dogs. Kia Ora, Thor Bullies and Family, and Daryl, hope everyone's dogs are doing okay. What's up? What is that? Suzik Kiwi. Thanks for joining in. Let's see here. Nano's Bullies says, what's up, fam? People recommend calcium supplements, for example, SureGrow. SureGrow is great. But I did research, and extra calcium can cause bone deformation, supposedly in large breeds. Would that cause Easty-Westy? It can cause Easty-Westy. Easty-Westy is a lot to do with genetics. You can fix it, but you can't fix the genetics. But Easty-Westy is a lot to do with genetics. Now you can help fix it if you get on it, if it's slight Easty-Westy and it is an environmental thing. SureGrow is a great tablet to give to your young pups through that growing stage to help them kind of even things out. There's no need to push calcium though, and you're 100% right. Too much calcium can cause bone deformation. for whatever reasons, people go looking for calcium to give to their dogs. When these large breeds, you don't need that. It's unnecessary. It comes with most of the products that we have, whether it's your dog food, if you feed raw, it's in the bone. I'm not a big into raw, but I do like what they call chicken paws, chicken feet. It's in there. So there's no need to go and look for calcium supplements. And I think that's the mistake a lot of people make. He said, yep, what's up, Rome? Thanks for joining in, brother. Let's see here. WKR, I keep wanting to say WKRP Cincinnati. That shows my age. WKRK9 said, what's the recommend age for someone to start conditioning their bullies? Because of the growth of these dogs, I would wait till about 6 months old. You can get them used to it in little ways earlier. So your flirt pole, your spring pole, most just start play. Around 6 months old, you can get them used short bursts with your spring pole, with the flirt pole, with the spring pole, because of the size and the build of these dogs. Make sure that their rears, that they're grabbing something that they don't have to jump for, and that they can just raise up and get it, and then come back down with all 4 feet on the ground. Once they hit a year old, their growth plates are now starting to connect. And at that point, you can raise the spring pole up to where the front end of the dog is off the ground. Any dog, I will say, over 70 pounds, never let them hang off the ground. Yes, Cardi is 100 pounds, 103. And yes, there's a video of her hanging off of a spring pole. We did it that one time. Shouldn't have done it, but we did it that one time. We don't do it again. It's just not, you're just looking at possible injuries with dogs that's that heavy. So always make sure that any dog over 70 pounds, that their rear is on the ground, or their back feet are on the ground when they get the spring pole. And that way they get a good rear workout along with the back. Rome said, yeah, LOE Bullies. And Rome of LOE Bullies is the owner of, why did I forget his name, Rome? My mind just went blank. Type it in there. I'm going to probably say it before you get it in there. Jamaican. What is his name? Type it in there, Rome, so I can see it. Champion, I'm not even going to look. Rude Boy. There we go. I said it before you did. He's the owner of Champion Rude Boy. Great looking dog. So I see it. Yeah, but I said it before you typed it. So check out Rome. He's been in this game for quite some time. Then let's see. Regime Bullies said, what's up from Michigan? Thanks for joining in. Who else we got on here? 862 said, they're more on the game side of things. Exponents, Dogman type products. Okay. I've never heard of it. I don't know. I have never used breed specific products. I've used work specific or job specific, purpose specific products, but I've never used breed specific products with my dogs. American Bully Mini Mr. KCUT said, too much of a good thing is bad for them. Exactly. So don't get focused on calcium for these pups. It already comes in a lot of the things that we give to our dogs. So try not to get overly focused on there's no reason for you to give calcium supplements to your dogs. It comes already in most of what we give them. All right, let's see, make sure the comments were on point. So we did the overheating. Let's see here. Second topic was best meat grinder for raw diet or raw recipes. Like I said, I'm not heavy into raw. I do have a buddy though that does raw, and he uses a it's called Carnivore, but it's made by Cabela. And one of the reasons he likes it is he can do large amounts. He breeds cattle dogs, Australian cattle dogs, and then he is the Queensland Heeler, and he also breeds American Bulldogs. And I know he's gotten into a lot of raw. I would say as of the last 5-6 years. Anyway, he uses a Cabela. It's by Cabela, and it's called the Carnivore. and he uses that. He loves that meat grinder because of the amount of meat he can put in at a time and get it done. And I guess when it comes to meat grinders, some of them are not as easy to clean out, and some of them, I guess after a while, they just stop working for whatever reasons. And he swears by that meat grinder. And I want to say his wife has the same meat grinder for their actual kitchen for their family. But so that's the only one I know of. I don't do raw, so I don't really know of a lot of different meat grinders. What I will say is spend the money on it. When it comes to a meat grinder, I wouldn't go getting a used one because you don't know how well somebody was cleaning it out beforehand and things like that. So that would be the only thing I would say, and make sure that you are getting one that you're going to have for several years, not just a few months, and by your fifth litter the meat grinder you're out getting another one. So I would say definitely ask a lot of questions. I do know that carnivore meat grinder, which I want to say is made by Cabela. He swears by that thing. Another topic was, can you breed a classic female with great structure to an XL? Yes, you can. You can breed XLs. Well, you can breed these classes within each other. You can even breed an XL to a pocket. I've heard in the bully community that you have to watch out when you're breeding an XL to a classic, how big of a difference it is between their heights, because you can cause high rears. I don't know that that's true, though. And like I said, the reason I don't know that that's true is in the bull nurture program that I was in, I don't think anyone produced high rears, and we were taking greyhounds to pit bulls. There weren't any high rears. It was not an issue whatsoever in any of the litters, in any of the breedings. So I personally believe that when it comes to high rears, that they tend to come from the sway in the back, and they typically come from stiff stifles, straight legs in the rear of the dogs. But I think it's a genetic issue rather than I bred a dog that's too tall. I think a Chihuahua has high rears because that Chihuahua genetically has high rears. If you take a Chihuahua that doesn't have a high rear to a Great Dane that doesn't have a high rear and doesn't have the genetics to produce it, then you should still get a evened out dog that doesn't have high rears. I don't know that to be fact. I only know it from my experience. But like I said, we bred greyhounds that were drastically taller than some of the pit bulls they went to. And all those pits were game dogs. So they were small, like 40 to 50 pounds. And we never got any high rears. So I believe that high rear is a genetic issue. And I think it's a two-part genetic issue of the sway in the back and also the rear angulation of the dog. I don't know that to be fact. I've never looked into it. It's just something that's always kind of been in my head in my experience of dealing with dogs. And when I got into bullies, and everybody was saying you can't breed that XL to a classic or you're going to get a high rear, I don't believe that that's true. I think the high rear comes from one of those dogs already having it in their genetic makeup to produce high rears. But can you do it? You definitely can. I would, just in case I'm wrong, I would make sure their height is somewhat close. We did do a breeding king who, is extremely big dog to a pocket. And so far that pup's 11 weeks old and there's no high rear or anything coming from that. And he looks like he's going to be a great thing. So I'm excited about seeing him grow. But you can definitely do it. And a lot of people do take the standards and the classics to XLs to help clean them up in structure. That should be your main purpose. Hopefully you can get the angulation and whatever it is you're looking for to get off of that. So again, when it comes to that question, can you breed a classic female with a great structure to an XL? Yes, you definitely can. And hopefully you get a dog with better structure. Let's see here. Let me see, make sure I'm not missing any of your comments. Let's see. Someone from Facebook said, most dogs I've seen with high rear have straight stifles. I was just having a conversation with somebody about that today. And that's the same thing I've noticed, is that it tends to be the straight stifles. The sway back gives the image of having a high rear because of the dip. the stiff stifles can actually cause the high rears. So I think when it comes to high rears or breeding between classes, that if you've got good angulation and no high rears visible in the phenotype of the dogs and the dogs that they came from, then you should be able to cross any size without having any issues. Um, let's see. LOL Bullies Rome said, question is, what would be the purpose of the breeding? I think he was looking to clean it up because his wording, hold on, let me get to you, Rome. His wording said, can you breed a classic female with great structure to an XL? So I'm assuming that he's looking to clean up the XL is what I'm assuming he's looking for when he asked that question. All right, and I noticed there's some Facebook questions popping up that for some reason aren't showing, so I'm gonna get to you guys in just a second. Can you breed out Easty Westy? Yes, you can. You can breed out anything in 5 to 7 generations. Hopefully you do it faster, but yes, you can, just by no longer breeding 2 dogs with Easty Westy. Breed to a dog that doesn't have Easty Westy, take the pup from there. You may have to keep them for a length of time. Usually Easty Westy kind of starts showing itself pretty soon, but you're gonna have to get the dogs from that. That's what selective breeding is all about, and breed them to other dogs that do not have Easty Westy. And but yes, you can breed it out. You can breed out anything in a dog. Somebody from Facebook said, are straight stifles hereditary? I believe they are partly environmental, but I believe they are mostly genetic. There are things you can do to assist with straight stifles as far as working the back end. Hold on, y'all, real quick. There are things you can do when it comes to stifles. Why is the air not? Oh, somebody done messed up. Okay. Hold on, I'm trying to cool it off in the house real quick. But yes, there are things you can definitely do when it comes to high rears. Yeah, it is blowing out. Why am I hot in my little corner? All right. But yeah, there are things you can do to assist with stiff stifles that come with working out the rear end, the spring pole, like we discussed earlier, uphill walks, sand, gravel, anything that builds up the muscle in that back leg or in those back legs. As that muscle builds, that leg will slightly constrict and not have as bad of a straight stifle as the dog was born with. But you can definitely breed it out. Let me see here. American Bully Mini, Mr. CUT said the Bulldog is in the high rear and straight stifles from the wide spread of the chest brings the front down. That's exactly true. When you start seeing dogs with extremely wide shoulders, the chest and everything in between those shoulders tends to sink down. You see dogs that are bow-legged especially. So you want your dog's feet to be directly under its shoulders. And you want the shoulders to be in proportion to the rest of the dog. Otherwise, it is going to sink down a little bit in the front. Weak pasterns are another thing that takes place in the front and can cause high rears. The stiff stifles come from, yes, the Bulldog in them, but the American Bulldog doesn't have stiff stifles, but the English Bulldog tends to have stiff stifles. Also, a lot of Mastiffs have stiffer stifles, and Mastiffs naturally stand with their feet directly under them and walk with their feet going more forward than the average dog does. So that can also bring your high rear. So it can come from various breeds that were thrown into these dogs. Let's see. Rome said, but this is why we still correcting issues, because people bent on trying to breed out flaws by steady breeding in flaws, trying to gain another trait. That is the truth. We're putting together puzzle pieces and losing. As we're putting together these puzzle pieces, we're losing pieces from other that we already had. So you need to, there's some people who say you need perfect dog, even though no dog is perfect, but you need dogs without these issues. And that's the only dogs you should be getting. Unfortunately, it's an online based community and a lot of people have issues. We have issues that we have to keep an eye on in our yard. And everybody has them. But there are extreme issues like the extreme high rears and Easty Westies and things like that. People are buying these dogs. And we want to say, if you bought a dog and it's got these issues, just don't breed it. Go get another dog. But we all know that people are going to breed it. Some people won't. We've had dogs that we were like, okay, well, this dog won't be bred. Most people aren't going to do that. So if you're a person who has, a few flaws that you're trying to get out of your dog, rather than things that you're trying to bring. See, Rome comes from a level of he don't have these flaws, so he might just look for, okay, I need more head, or I need more bone, or I need. Whereas a lot of people are in a situation where it's not even about the more head and the more bone. They actually have things that they have to get rid of, not things that they have to gain. So for those who are in that situation, said too many are making sacrifices. I agree. But for those who are in that situation where you're like, okay, I just got this one flaw I got to breed out. You need to be specific and you need to be picky about the dog that you're going to, because not only if you only have one flaw you need to breed out, then the dog you're going to has to not have that flaw, and it can't have any other flaws that you have. Because what's happening, what people are doing is, I need to breed out high rears, and this guy's got a dog that doesn't have high rears, but it's got Easty Westy. So I'm going to breed to that, and then I'm just going to take the pups that don't have Easty Westy. Well, you're selling those pups to somebody else who then is going to breed, and next thing you know, they're all making their way back into it. You remember Galactus? Nah, I'm not sure what that is. But yeah, so you have to be picky about if you're looking to breed out flaws, you got to be picky about the dogs that you go to. Why is this saying that it's having trouble playing the video? Let's see, Northern Edge. Okay, then we got to Verena Talton and said, "What's up, Daryl? It's Chris from yesterday's live. Oh, what's up, man? Was just wondering if it's a bad idea to breed a male with Easty Westy and a female who has straight feet." Well, see, and that's what we were just talking about. I would say, if you're looking at your yard, you're determined if the male is your dog. If the female is not your dog, then I wouldn't breed to whoever's male has the Easty Westy. If the male is your dog and he's got Easty Westy, now is this one showing up? This one's fine. And he's got Easty Westy, then I would say, you just have to look at the degree of the Easty Westy. If it's extreme, no extreme flaws should be bred and looked to fix. So if it's extreme, then you definitely don't want to breed that dog. And the best way, okay, there it goes. The best way to think about it is, let's see. The best way to think about it is, you don't want to be breeding just to breed. That needs to be something that you avoid. Okay, hold on. Now all of a sudden a bunch of comments are popping up. Yeah, you don't want to be breeding just to be breeding. You want to be breeding because, I hate to say bettering the breed, because just so many people say it and it's corny to me, but you want to be breeding to better the breed, especially because it's a new breed. So don't just breed just to be doing it. Make sure that you're taking good dogs to good dogs. If there's some issues that you feel you need to fix, Easty Westy, then make sure those issues aren't extreme and that they're not drastic. Northern Edge said alcohol on the pads or the feet, lemon juice down the throat, followed by Pedialyte. Exactly. Everyone, please remember these 3 crucial items. Exactly. Brittany Burns, welcome. Thanks for joining in. Said we got a 1-3-4 from Cabela. See, I don't know the name of the meat grinder he's using. She said, but best grinder ever, about $900, but does chicken bone and turkey. So, okay, so I don't know. The one that I was talking about is a Cabela, and I want to say it's called Carnivore, because I just remember that being on there. But yeah, so Brittany Burns is telling you, so for the meat grinder question, she's saying it was a $900 meat grinder, but does chicken bone, it does turkey, so you don't have to worry about those things. I don't know anything about how the cleaning process of meat grinders and how that works. I'm assuming there is a process to it, but I do remember him discussing it being easy to clean. I just don't know what the process is for that. But there's Brittany telling you right there. Rex said, most dogs I've seen with a high rear. Okay, so that was Rex that made that comment. Can you breed out Eastie Westie? Just gave my opinion on that. You can breed out anything, but this is a new breed. And how many litters are you putting out there before it's finally bred out? It needs to be thought about. So if it's extreme, I'd say don't do it. If it's slight Eastie Westie, I'd say go for it, but be very selective and make sure that those pups, make sure you're also, when you're into breeding out traits or breeding out a flaw, you have to be willing to keep a number of pups. You can't just keep one and then put the rest out there in the world. If you're going to put them out there in the world, then you need to make sure that you're holding on to those papers so that those dogs aren't bred so that you can perfect your yard. The problem with bully breeders is that a lot of them are trying to breed out flaws and then they're selling pups with flaws to other breeders with no control over what's happening. Rex said, are straight stifles hereditary? I truly don't know. We were talking about that, Rex. So y'all don't know if you were here for it. I believe straight stifles are hereditary, that it is a genetic issue. And that it is something that you do have to look into, you know, avoiding or breeding out when it comes to these dogs. There are environmental issues that can cause straight stifles, but for the most part, I believe it's hereditary. And because you even have breeds where it's acceptable and it's consistent. So I believe it to be hereditary. Which is why we all have to watch the dogs that we go to. Let me see, armpit and armpits. No, yes, armpits. As far as the overheating, you want to get in there and cool off the armpits of the dog. Tony Cass said lemon juice for the foam. What you mean for? Oh, for the foam. Okay. Okay, exactly. I'm not cleaning my phone with no lemon juice. All right, so yeah, for the foam, exactly. Rubbing alcohol on the pads and the feet. So there it goes, you guys. So make sure to go back, read some of the comments, especially if I may have missed them. But everybody seems to be on the same page when it comes to overheating. It is a hot summer, so make sure you're keeping your eye on your dogs. So we did the can you breed a classic to a female? Breed a classic female with a great structure to an XL. Yes, you can. The registries are not against it. I believe if you've got issues that you need better structure in your XL, then going to that classic female would be good. Of course, you're going to lose some size and some bone, but at least you know, you're getting the structure that you more than likely will need off of that XL. Next topic was, do double XLs exist or is it just a marketing pitch? There are a lot of people who push the fact that double XLs don't exist. There are a lot of people that push the fact double XLs do exist. A lot of people say that people only say that as a marketing pitch. Somebody said Thrower Bullies, I think, on YouTube. Yes, we are on YouTube as Thrower Bullies. Let me see here. Do the rubbing alcohol. Okay, so I think I've gone through all the comments. Here's the thing. In the 90s was when I started seeing XL pit bulls that were cross pit bulls and Amstaffs bred to larger breeds, and they were calling them XL dogs. And you got to remember, in the 90s, I don't care how skinny, how small you were, you didn't wear medium and small t-shirts, you wore XLs. And so that name just caught on with any and everything. So when it comes to this XL pit bulls, they were back in the 90s, especially the late 90s, early 2000s. The XL pit bull and pocket pit bulls and all these little names, because you also had pocket pit bulls back then, which was basically just Staffordshire Bull Terriers bred to other dogs. But you had those. But that name carried into the American Bully for whatever reason. So pocket, there's no such thing in the dog world as a pocket dog. That is the term for it is miniature. And teacup. There is no such thing as an XL dog in the dog world. There is giant. The only thing that American Bully, as far as terms, does the same is standard. And I don't think there's anything called classic in the dog world. So we took standard, we kept that, but then we had the pocket American Bully and we got the XL American Bully. And this came from the pit bull, people who were crossing pit bulls with various dogs. The XLs, and then you also had double XL pit bulls. You know, the XXL pit bulls that typically in the 2000s were unfinished band dogs, people intending on breeding band dogs. And they kind of, that name carried itself, the word pocket and the word XL carried itself into the American bully community. So did the word term double XL. There's no such class as double XL, but there's definitely double XL style dogs, which is the dogs that are 24 inches and up. They're just bigger than XL. So is it a marketing term? I'm sure it can be used as a marketing term, but more than that, it's no more of a marketing term than XL, standard, and classic. It is a description of the dog. When somebody says, I have a double XL, they're letting you know this dog is bigger than the XLs. Now, as far as ABKC goes, it's considered an XL. So the way it needs to be looked at is double XL is just a style of XL dog that is bigger than the 24 inches, because the XL is supposed to be 20 to 23 inches. Now, the ABKC is never probably going to have a double XL class, but what they do have is they allow larger dogs into the ring. It just has to have the bully breed type. The problem when you get to this double XL type dog is they tend to be longer. King is what people would consider a double XL style dog. He, though, is not a long dog. I would call him compact, but I definitely would. He's definitely not long. He is a square when you look at him from the side. So that tends to be the problem that people have when they're getting to these double XL dogs. They tend to have a large muzzle. King also has an extremely short muzzle for his size. But when you get to the size of around King, or calling a dog double XL, they tend to have the longer muzzles from the Mastiffs, and they tend to be a longer dog due to the Mastiffs and their body proportion, so that they can hold it well. So that tends to be the problem. But do double XLs exist? Yes, they exist as a style. They have been here longer than pockets have. But they just exist as a style of XL American bully because there is no class. Let me see here. Chris said again, Daryl, any advice on allergies? My XLs are breaking out with what seems to be heat spots or somewhat skin spots. Vet gave us some antibiotics, but don't seem to work. Heard Benadryl. Benadryl is good for allergies, but you need to use Benadryl with the objective of not having to use it. Allergies come from the immune system. You need to boost the immune system. Sardines are great for the immune system. Blueberries, strawberries are great for the immune system. Turmeric, garlic. What else? Turmeric helps with inflammation with the allergy reaction. Garlic is good for the blood and also for the immune system. Ginger is good for the stomach and the immune system. You want to give your dog a diet that is based off of boosting its immune system. So when you have allergies with your dog, it's just because the dog has a weaker immune system. So the dog's diet needs to consist of things that are going to boost its immune system. Like I said, if you add those products to it, sweet potato also. If you add those products to it, or those veggies to your dog's diet, that will help, and along with the sardines, that will help boost the dog's immune system. Some of those are helping in boosting the immune system. Some of those are helping the absorption of the nutrients from those other things for the immune system. So definitely focus on that. Also, fasting your dog once a week will help it boost its immune system. So if you're seeing an allergy issue, fast the dog one night just for 24 hours, and then go ahead and start including those in the ingredients of your dog's diet to help boost the immune system. The Benadryl, you're going to use that to help with the inflammation, and to bring down, and to make the dog more comfortable. But yeah, you can use the Benadryl, but at the same time, you don't want to have to consistently be using it. So think about that when it comes to Benadryl. Also, coconut oil is an antiseptic. It is great not only to keep the dog's mouth clean, it is also great to put on those areas where you're having those issues. Sugar helps you to, not sugar, I just had that one. Why is my mind going blank today? New stock helps not only heal, but it also helps the fur grow back. So New Stock is a great product to use, but also coconut oil on those skin. It's an antiseptic, so it helps the healing process of on the coat. It also helps within the dog system. So coconut oil. My only thing with coconut oil is it is thick. We all see it. It doesn't do like, olive oil. So you don't want to be giving it to your dog on a daily basis. If you're giving it to the dog, just while it's going through this phase to help with the immune system and the allergies, then that's cool. But again, I look at coconut oil the same as Benadryl, where you want to have you want to get it off of it. Now, coconut oil is fine every other day, but I wouldn't use coconut oil on a daily basis once you get your dog through this phase. So try that. Also, and I'm on live right now, so message me, Verena, and that way I can get all my thoughts together and let you know exactly what you need to be doing, and we'll come up with a regimen to assist with the antibiotics. Make sure you're using those. I use Fish Flex and Fish Mox as an antibiotic. Make sure you're using an antibiotic though, because it does a lot of times the coat issue can turn to open sores. So you want to make sure there's no infection. And it also helps the dogs. And the antibiotic also gives the dog a boost in its immune system. Also, when your dog's having these type of issues is, I'm just having a blank mind tonight. Get with the colostrum. You can get powdered. You can also get, I want to say you can get liquid colostrum, but you can get powdered colostrum. Colostrum is what, before the female actually produces milk, she produces colostrum, which gives a lot of antibodies to the pups. And then after about 2 days, that colostrum starts to turn to milk. Get colostrum for your adult dogs if they're having allergy issues. Colostrum will help give them a boost in their immune system. You can get that from most feed stores. You can definitely order it online. But Verena, don't forget, send me a message, and that way I can ask you a few questions to know exactly when it started, how it may have started, and then we'll figure out a regimen for about 2 weeks to put the dog on to help with what's going on. So don't forget to message me. 862 Bully said, do you think we'll ever get to a point where the American Bully as a whole will have one set in stone look across all classes rather than seeing the amount of variations we see now in build, muzzle, etc.? I don't know, because we're in an internet world, and the internet has allowed people who don't know things and people who have bad intentions to find each other. And the people who don't know things can find each other and feel like they know things and give each other and people advice. And the people who have bad intentions can find each other, and then they all have bad intentions. So then all of a sudden it feels like these intentions aren't bad anymore. So there's enough people out there on Facebook that breed bullies strictly for money, which is not a good thing. And it's not as bad anymore. And that's the way our society is getting. It's funny, the Bible even talks about that, where good starts to be looked at as bad. And that's the way society is headed these days. And the internet has partially caused it and perpetuates it and makes it happen at a faster speed. So you figure even the Rottweiler, there are people that like the smush face Rottweiler. Well, it's because of the internet. So people who don't know any better or don't have respect for the traditional Rottweiler look at that and they say, I like that. It's cute. I'm going to get it, rather than just going and buying a pug or a bulldog or something like that. So I don't know if that consistency is going to get there. And I don't know it, one, because there's a lot of inconsistencies with the dogs that have won from champions to grand champions. There's a lot of inconsistencies with the dogs that are allowed to show in the ring. And there's a lot of inconsistencies, even worse than the ring. There's inconsistencies on the internet. And there's two things that messed up dogs. You figure dogs were being bred for purposes for over 20,000 years. And at some point, somebody decided, I'm going to start a registry to register dogs and help breeders keep track of their paperwork, which was a brilliant idea. But then at some point, somebody took it a step further and said, I want them to all meet up in groups, which was a great idea. But then somebody said, we're going to show dogs based off aesthetics. We're going to claim that we're keeping it true to the breed, but that's not true. And we all know that that's not true. And so what we see now, like they just had the Westminster show, all these dogs are heavy now. They're out of shape. You could tell they don't work, even though their owners are claiming that they do. It's like, nah, you're lying. But so the show ring was one of the first things that came along, that the show ring and aristocrat type rich people society saying, I want little fluffy dogs to sit by me and I like the look of things. The show ring, along with that society that was heavily involved in the original show ring, because the show ring is what, about 200 years old. So the show ring was one of the first hits that the dog took when it came to being a lesser dog in health, ability, and intelligence, cognitive ability. I don't think there's been anything that has hit dogs since then. And you got a lot of show breeders that are able to breed for the show ring, but at the same time remain true to dogs as a species and their breed and its purpose. And so I salute those people. But overall, the average show breeder really doesn't know anything about dogs and doesn't understand what they're losing when they're strictly breeding for aesthetics. The next hit that dogs that I can think of took was the internet. And PETA was a major hit to dogs going down, because then you started getting a lot of your fur moms and fur dads, and I want a pit bull, but I don't want him to run. I want a greyhound, or I want a pit bull, but I don't want it to have any animal aggression. Not realizing that part of that is attached to the dog's intelligence. I want a greyhound, but I don't want it to run or race. I think racing is cruel, but I still want a greyhound. That mentality never had the ability to take off until the internet came along. And when the internet came along, like I said, it allowed people who don't know any better and people who have bad intentions to find groups of each other. And I don't know. There's really no way to answer that. I would like to say that at some point the bully community will get it together. But I don't know that that's possible. I don't know that we're capable of getting better things that were previously here before the internet during an internet phase. And that goes with dogs, music, everything that you look at is going downhill because people are just able to make things popular that shouldn't be popular, and therefore those things become popular. And though most of us say that's no good, they can always find somebody that doesn't know any better. So it's a good question. I cross my fingers and say hopefully we will get consistency, but I don't know that anything that existed before the internet that is possible for that thing to become better during this internet era. And this internet era is not going anywhere. So it's a good question, but I don't know how that's going to turn out. And I don't think it's possible. I don't think hip hop is going to get better with internet. I don't think music is going to get better with the internet. You'll just get more people that have lousy judgment when it comes to music, lousy judgment when it comes to dogs. That's my opinion. I think it's kind of been proven, and since the internet has been around, but we'll see. Hopefully we can get to that point. But so do XXLs exist? Yes, but they exist as a style of XL. And there are issues that come when you get to that size of a dog, longer muzzles, longer backs, stiffer stifles. We were luckily, with as big as King is, we're able to avoid a lot of that. Now I'm starting to see some more, but XXL is a style of dog that has been here before the internet, before Facebook, before pockets. So you can't take that away from those who promote their dogs as XXLs. And the last topic, the new push against athletic dogs. Why? Is it valid or just lazy breeders wanting lazy dogs? I don't know where that came from. I know when we first got on Facebook and realized the control that the show breeders and a lot of the need a bully your dog breeders had on Facebook, they were dominant on Facebook. Their rhetoric is dominant on on Facebook. And now we started pushing to drive the bully. And then all of a sudden, the whole hashtag drive the bully, I don't want to say pound drive the bully, but hashtag drive the bully. And a lot of people were against it. I think part of that was a valid concern due to the fact most people know my cousin and I came from working background. My last dogs were catch and protection dogs. My cousin's last dogs were Cane Corso. And I think the bully community looked at it as that's what we were trying to bring to the table when it came to bullies. We knew we weren't. We just weren't. We're letting everybody say whatever they had to say and kept on pushing it. Eventually, people started realizing the purpose of Drive the Bully wasn't to increase the drive in dogs, but was to not decrease it, because there are other drives you can manipulate to achieve the breed standard. The other purpose in driving the bully was to say, get out there and do more with your dogs and use temperament as a gauge to breeding just as much as you use angulation and easty-westy and all these other things. Now, lately, I have noticed there's a push against athletic dogs. And I don't get that. And the reason I don't get that is because a lot of the deformities and issues that we see and the flaws that we see in these dogs come from the dogs that people want, the bullier dogs. You don't see too many classics with easty-westy or stiff stifles and things. They tend to come with your bullier dogs because now you're bringing more bulldog traits to the dog. You're going to need, especially in this internet world and this being a new breed, you're going to need those athletic dogs to keep it sound and to keep these dogs closer to being dogs. So what I've noticed is, people are pushing the bully look. It's a bully, so you got to push the bully look. But I think the athletic dog is health. It's intelligence. A dog can't be athletic unless it's able to do things at high speed and figure those things out. That's brain power. When this new push that is anti-athletic dogs, in my opinion, comes from people who are lazy and don't do things with their dogs. They want that dog that just sits on the couch with them and watches Netflix. They don't want to see that market that they have slowly disappear and shift to people who have a higher expectation of dogs, regardless of the breed, than they do. The bully standard does not call for a lazy dog. It doesn't even call for a non-athletic dog. It just asks for the dog to be bully, thick bone, compact. But you should be able to breed that and still have a dog that is capable and that is able. But the reason people want to speak on temperament and laziness and anti-athletic is, one, those people tend to be lazy and anti-athletic, and therefore they want a dog that matches them. Not understanding that we as humans we're one of the only species that can sit still and learn. We spend 12 years of school sitting still and learning. Animals don't do that. They learn through movement and going from one location to another. When it comes to your prey animals, for instance, your deer, things like that, they learn by being chased, seeing things at certain distances, whether that distance, it can close that distance or not. How much speed do I have? When it comes to predators, they learn from movement also. Whether it's movement, just climbing out of something, jumping over something, they start to learn from this. So when you start talking about a non-athletic dog, whether you like it or not, what you're going to start creating is a lesser intelligent dog, because a non-athletic dog, the athletic dog might jump the fence and learn what's on the other side. The non-athletic dog will never learn what's on the other side of that fence. We don't want it to jump the fence, but it's still never going to learn. The non-athletic dog, or the dog that's movement isn't as free-willing, is not going to go to that corner of the yard to see what was over there and learn from that. The more a dog learns, the more it's capable of learning. Our minds are the same way. But again, humans are the only species that's able to sit still and learn. Most species that sit still, like plants, they don't learn. Things that move at incredibly slow paces, snails, they don't learn. So they might learn a little bit, but not much. Those things that are able to move distances, there is no other species that is able to move long distances and can sit still and learn other than humans. So as you slowly begin to take away athleticism, drive, what you're going to slowly start doing, but quicker than you think, is decreasing the intelligence of the animal and the pet that you have, the breed that we are all breeding. People want to ignore that and say, well, oh, I just breed my dog for show, or I just breed dogs because that make good family companions. That's cool, but pointers make good family companions, and they're working dogs. Pit bulls make good family companions. So it's a companion species. So we have to get out of that this whole companion thing as a sales pitch. That's more of a sales pitch than XXL has ever been. We have to get out of that phase and understand that, in training dogs, I can tell you right now, I'll be honest, two of the most difficult dogs to deal with when it comes to intelligence. Some dogs are difficult to deal with because they are intelligent. A lot of your terriers. Some dogs are difficult to deal with because they lack intelligence. A lot of your bulldogs, your pugs, a lot of your brachycephalic dogs just don't have a high intelligence. Can you teach them things? Yes. Are there intelligent versions of their breed? Yes. I've seen some extremely intelligent. All right. Not sure what just happened. And now it's giving me some kind of warning. Says Facebook. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but we're gonna keep it pushing. Um, are we caught up? Yeah, I don't know why it just kicked me out, and it looks like it did that on Facebook. Let me reset this real quick. Bear with me for a second. And I am missing a lot of the comments. And okay, so that's caught up on StreamYard. Looks like YouTube is going cool. And all right, so I think we're good. But let me catch some of your comments. Jasmine said, too many dogs that can't live up to drive the bully. I see so many dogs who aren't capable due to structural makeup, deformities, and or size. So it's easier to hate on the dogs and breeders / owners who have athletic dogs. I think that sums it up. Even with King is not a high drive dog. King's not going to let you enter his home, but King will clear an acre to run something off, 2 acres to run something off. So, but he's a big dog. You can't expect him to go running and chasing things down through the woods. And I agree with you 100%. That's Jasmine Duncan that said that. There are a lot of people who just hate on what they don't have, and they see the dogs evolve in different directions. Although the athleticness of bullies is not an evolution, it's always been there. The evolution that's taking place is what people are doing, that's trying to eliminate the athleticness. So I think there has to be a balance. I think you need to have breed type, but there are a lot. Brett Porras has athletic dogs, which she's with Weird City Bullies. There's just a lot of people, and I'll tell you right now, Fred Duran, who has Dooley. I wouldn't say Dooley has an athletic look. I wouldn't say he's an athletic dog, but he's got gumption to him. He's alert. He's he may not go jumping over fences, but you could tell there's things he can jump that you don't think he can, and if he wanted to, he could. He's got the power to back it up in his size and his structure. So I wouldn't say he's what people would consider an athletic dog, but Dooley's not what people would consider a non-athletic dog. He is bully. He is balanced. And I think that's what we got to go for. And I think they need to go from him to maybe a little less bone, a little more athleticism. And of course, it depends on what it is you want to do with your dog and what it is you're looking for. But we can't say I want to get rid, or we can't look at athleticism as it's a negative. That's crazy. Any breeder that's pushing it like athleticism is a negative, that's crazy. If they speak on athleticism and any negative tone to their conversation, you need to stay away from that person, because this is a person who's going to sell you heart attacks, bad blood pressure dogs. Bunch of bone, bunch of girth. May not be fat, but it's still got a bunch of bone, bunch of girth. These dogs are going to want to do less, and as they want to do less, they become less in every facet. So we got to think about those things when it comes to it. Mr. J said, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. So can you help me determine my dog's temperament type? Definitely I can. I always see you on YouTube, Mr. J. You can hit me up on Messenger, or you and I can have a conversation. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that, and then we'll kind of discuss what it is you're going through, and go through there. I might even, that's actually a good idea for a live, just people bring up their various temperament traits of their dog. But we'll start off with you, Mr. J, and hit me up. Find me, Daryl Thrower, on Facebook. Request me as a friend. And you can always hit me through Messenger privately on there. I don't know that YouTube has anything like that. I know Instagram does, so you can also hit us up on Instagram. So for when it comes to athletic dogs, we don't want to eliminate or look negatively on athletic dogs in the bully community. I see that's what's happening. A lot of you guys with the over extreme dogs are going to need those athletic dogs. And the way I look at it is, regardless of a breed, the best dogs are always comparable to their species of being a dog. The best pug makes a good dog. The best Pekingese makes a good dog, not just a good Pekingese. So the more we're able to compare our breed to its species, the better you're going to have when it comes to these dogs, and it comes to their mind, and when it comes to their body, and when it comes to their internal organs and their health. That's why we're dealing with all these allergy issues, because people didn't care. They were just looking for a big head or a bunch of muscle or whatever, and they threw things off kill. You know, you look at the pit bull, the game bred pit, just to take it to extreme. The game bred pit, in order for you to put your money up and win, a referee had to be able to be in the middle of these dogs. You had to be able to break these dogs up without getting bit. So tolerance to the human hand and human control and human voice, people are yelling and screaming while the two dogs are focused on fighting. This tolerance was all part of the fight game, because I don't want to lose my money by my dog jumping out the box and attacking somebody, or biting the ref, because now all of a sudden it's an automatic loss in most arenas, especially when Louisiana, which is where your Louisiana dogfighting rules came from. So then all of a sudden, about 80 years ago, they decided they wanted, to bring the pit bull to the AKC. The AKC said no, because you guys are fighting them. Then the AKC started thinking about it, and they said, okay, but you got to change the name. That gives AKC a little more control. So they changed it to the American Staffordshire Bull Terrier, or the American Staffordshire Terrier, because they wanted the word pit out. AKC said, we don't want those red noses. I'm not sure how it goes now, but back then they didn't want the red noses because it enabled you to breed a game dog that also had a consistent color. So they didn't want a dog who was winning in AKC as an AM staff, but his brother was whooping everybody's butt in the fight ring as an American Pit Bull Terrier. So when it comes to that, you start losing things. Why do you think attacks by pit bulls picked up when the pit bulls started having gameness bred out of it? Because it was all associate. Body follows mind, mind follows body. It's all associate. Your tip of your fingernail is also attached one way or another to the tip of your toenail through the rest of the body. So all these, then the mind works the exact same way, and so does temperament and drives within dogs. So they bred these dogs for years to be a specific way. So over 20,000 years, these dogs have been bred to be a specific way. So when you start changing things to fulfill a new age society, and I mean, look at society now. When it comes to, how do I say this and still be politically correct at the same time? Let's look at it this way. When it comes to humans, what do we know are the differences between us and other animals? We are capable of sitting in one spot and learning a lot, whereas other animals cannot do that. The other thing that's a huge difference in humans is there's a huge difference between men and women. When you go into the animal kingdom, there aren't huge differences. They have different looks. The lion has a mane, the peacock, the male has the bright colors. But when it comes to their abilities, there's not a huge difference between them. When you get to, your silverback, your gorillas, you start to show a more drastic difference between the males. So when you come to your primates, there tends to be a larger distance between male and female. But when it comes to your actual predators, your mammals, especially with actually with all animals, there's not very much difference between male and female in temperament or in look. In look, there tends to be one or two major features. Other than that, they pretty much look the same. If you shave a lion's mane off, he's going to look just like a female lion. Well, it's the same when it comes to temperament. There isn't a lot of variations between male and female. We are now in a society that has chosen, as life gets easier and we have the internet and we have cars, for whatever reasons, our new age society is starting to look down on masculinity. It is a negative thing. We want to see boys dressed in more feminine colors, more feminine type clothing. When I say we, that's not me. I'm talking about everybody else. But we want to start seeing those things, and we're starting to do the same thing with dogs. Dogs, lions, predators are a masculine animal, whether they are because they have more masculine type traits that are comparable to men. Deer, rabbits, things like that tend to have more feminine traits. So predators tend to have more masculine traits. We have, for whatever reason, decided that we want cats, even though they are a predator, tend to be a more feminine type animals. And when I say male, masculine, feminine, dogs, your female dog comes busting in your house at full speed. She knocks over things. That's us. That's guys. We do these things. We accidentally electrocute ourselves. We fall, hurt our knees. We do things. We fall and have more mishaps than women tend to have because we just go about things in a bullyish type way. Well, dogs are that same way, whether they are male or female. We have now in today's society decided that we want to start feminizing things. Macho is now a bad word. Masculine, probably in the next 10 years, will become a bad word. That's just the direction we're headed. And when it comes to dogs, you can't do that to them without ruining them because they are a masculine species, be they male or female. So we can breed lazy dogs and fluffy dogs and furry dogs. But when you start taking dogs that stand higher than your knee and giving them the physics that are made to catch rabbits, chase things, but then start giving them the mind that doesn't want them doing it. As we take these dogs along this level, we are reversing them from what they naturally are. They will always be predators. And as we reverse them from being predators, we are messing up the intelligence that comes with being a predator. And we're not giving it anything else to turn to because there is nothing else for it to turn to. That's what a dog is. So, and I've spoken on it before, when you want to bring down the prey drive in a dog, you got to replace it with something else. One of the best things to replace prey drive with is either play drive or purpose drive. But if you bring down play drive and you bring down purpose drive and you bring down prey drive and you bring down defensive drive and you bring down packs. You start bringing down all these drives, what you just end up with is a lazy, unintelligent dog, and that is something that we're doing to this to the species that we call dog, and that we once claimed was man's best friend. We're ruining it, and we're turning it into a ornament, something to be seen, but something that is not capable of accomplishing and doing things. Let's see. Mr. J said, thank you. I'm in the FB group and I follow you on IG too. Okay, cool. So message me and we'll have a discussion on that and kind of break that down and figure out what it is you got with your dog when it comes to temperament. And then we'll also break down what drives are making up that temperament, what you can increase on if you're breeding bullies, what you might need to decrease on, regardless of whatever breed it is. So we'll definitely have that discussion. Mr. J said everyone has to be right and be included in everything these days, whether they deserve it or not. And that is what it's all about. You know, what do they call it? The participation trophy. Well, everybody wants the participation trophy. We used to say, okay, well, at least you got a participation trophy, which meant you were at least part of the team. But now people are satisfied with it. You know, they just want to be a part of it. Everybody wants to breed. And there's nothing wrong with people liking dogs and breeding. But I see people now who are breeding that I wouldn't even say like dogs. It's just a money thing to them. They've got kennels set up so the dogs aren't in the house. And they're just in it for the money process. You can go to a vet. You can do AIs. You can do C-sections. It's all simple. You don't even have to learn dogs to breed, and the dogs don't even have the opportunity to teach you anymore because vets are so heavily involved. The dogs don't have the opportunity to teach you through the things that they go through when it comes to breeding. You lock them in a cage, and you have a vet, so you don't need to learn nothing from the dog. The dog don't need to learn nothing from you. And, you know, and it's like I always say, anybody, if you own a dog, you're a trainer. You're automatic, you're a dog trainer because you're either training it the right things to do or you're training it the wrong things to do. And we're even removing that by being able to put these dogs out in kennels and, you know, all these things that we're doing. But we are eliminating dog from being man's best friend and dog just becoming something like a coffee table or a hamster or something like that. So that's something we have to think about when it comes to this new anti-athletic dog movement that is being pushed. I'm just going to say it's bullshit. And as far as I'm concerned, it comes from, I don't know why I got this burst of energy, so I'm just going to run with it. But it comes from, these are lazy people who are going to claim that they used to breed game dogs, but they didn't. They bred dogs that came from game lines. Their dogs weren't proven game. And they're using that as a backup for why they got into bullies. And then they get into bullies and they see now I can breed a dog that looks tough, but isn't shit. It ain't tough. It can't do nothing. And therefore, I'm going to push this on everybody else. I'm going to sell it to everybody else. And I'm going to push this narrative of anti-athleticism. Well, you're pushing that because you can't control dogs that I can control. That's the way I look at it. I'm not going to say, I will say out of the bully breeders I come across, there are very few that will be able to deal with Cardi Bull. There are a good number that will be able to deal with a king, but they would still have to probably try to, you know, keep him away from things. Because he's a big dog. Rather than train him what not to do, they'd rather just make him shorter. Rather than teaching Cardi Bull what not to do, they'd rather just make her lazy. But I love the fact that I've got a thick bone, 103-pound dog that if I let her, she will hang from a spring pole and she will go for whatever. I can play fetch with Cardi Bull till she dies. She's not going to stop. I love that. But I also love the fact I could take her in PetSmart. I could take her to the vet. She's wishy-washy with other dogs. As long as they're not aggressive, she's cool. But if they try to be dominant or aggressive, she can go from 0 to 100 with no problem. But I also feel that it comes from her environment, being around Floyd, being around Fox. I don't think that's necessarily genetically her. What I do love the fact is her genetics have allowed her the ability to do that from being in the environment with more aggressive dogs that she is. But the pups that she produced, they're going to dog. I'm not even a dog park dude, but they're going to dog parks, beaches, and all kinds of stuff, having a great time dealing with other dogs. Their mama may not be of that nature, but she's able to produce pups that can, especially when she's breeding with king. So we have to watch that. There's nothing wrong with producing dogs that are non-dog aggressive. There's nothing wrong with producing dogs that are not human aggressive. A dog should be leery of the movement of humans when they move incorrectly. And when I mean incorrectly, I mean if humans moving dominant wise towards your dog, coming off of something that's tall or whatever, and your dog doesn't know that, your dog should show signs of a little bit of leeriness. Shouldn't be aggressive, should still be confident, but it should be at it should be assertive and in its appearance, and it should also be aware of that person's movement, whether they're going to become aggressive or whether they're not. Same thing with loud people. Your dog should be aware of that. They should be in tune with it. When you start breeding those things out, athleticism, alertness, awareness, you are creating dumber dogs, and you have no choice but to, because the dog has less ability. A dog that has less ability does less. A dog that does less learns less. These things are all tied together. So as far as the athletic bullies, I love them. I want a thicker dog, but I don't want a dog that's not capable. And we're going to go ahead and I'm going to finish up with your comments, any questions, and then we're going to get off because we already at, damn, that went by fast. All right, so we almost at 2 hours. Let's see. A62 said, Mr. J, a person's ego gets in the way of learning and bettering themselves more times than not. That's exactly what happens. It's exactly what happens. And what it is people realize this might be better, but then my ego says, no, it's not better. I like what I am and who I am and my ego. And then next thing they don't realize they're not getting better or they're producing terrible dogs. Let's see. Susie Q Kiwi said structure and proper function, which includes athleticism, go together for a lot of breeds to get the best from them. Exactly. Especially the bully breeds from experienced human stuff and the genetic makeup. I get what you're saying, and that's 100% true. And the problem for us as bully breeders is they took these working breeds to create this non-working breed. They took these working companion breeds to create a non-working companion breed, which isn't bad. You can do it with no problems. But then there's this push for laziness and lack of athleticism and all these other things that people are coming up with. You should want to be pushing your dog mentally and physically in various ways. And I don't care if it's a pug, a chihuahua, a Pekingese, whatever. You should be, if I'm breeding pugs and I've got one that can play fetch 10 times across the yard, and I've got a female, she's the same way. But then I got this other pug over here, he can only play fetch across the yard 5 times. I need to eliminate him from my breeding program and deal with the dogs that are capable. Not that we have to get to the point where the pug can play fetch 20 times in my yard. But what we don't want to do is start breeding to the lesser thing. And the bully community makes excuses for that by calling dogs bully as lack of girth and things like that. You should be able to get these things all at once because there's other dog breeds that are doing it. The Borbell is a thick bone athletic dog. The Tosa Inu, a thick bone capable dog. Bull Mastiff, thick bone capable dogs. Even when you get to your Johnson version of the American Bulldog, thick bone and capable dogs. They're not lazy. They're not dumb. But that's the direction the bully community is trying to push us for whatever reason. They're not the bully community, but a lot of people in the community. Let's see. Susie Q says, so well said, Daryl. I agree with that statement. But that's where we're at. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to check the other comments to make sure I don't miss anybody. Hold on. Give me a second to jump back to Facebook. And let's say, get any advice on allergies? I think we hit that. Get off of there. Ain't real bunch. Much respect. Okay, so we hit that. I think I've gotten all you guys' comments. Let me refresh this one and make sure. And hold on. Let's see. Jasmine Duncan's too many dogs. Can't live. So, yeah. So I've gotten all you guys' comments. Again, remember, if you have topics that you want to discuss, be in the Giant American Bully group every Tuesday at 9 a.m. There's a post that's going to post and be pinned to the top of the group that's announcing the live and the topics. And you can always add topics to that. And of course, I will always try to cover your topics that you put in the comments. Again, I'm about to sign off of here. I'm glad you guys joined in. Remember, check us out on Thor Bullies YouTube. Check us out on Thor Bullies Instagram, and also Thor Bullies page on Facebook, and make sure to join the Giant XL American Bully group. Thank y'all for tuning in. Hopefully I answered your questions. If there's any further questions, post them in here, or you can always message me and I will get to you. Takes me a few days to get to everybody on Messenger, but I will answer all questions, any questions. I have no problem with that. I will get to you. Thanks to y'all for signing on, and we are out.